How do you differentiate yourself in a crowded market? We're going to cover that and so much more on this edition of the Inside BS Show. Hey now, I'm Dave Lorenzo. I'm the godfather of growth. And on today's show, we're talking about differentiating yourself in a crowded market, specifically real estate here in South Florida. There's over 19,000 people selling residential real estate between the Keys and Palm Beach. We've got somebody who's really special with us today, and we're going to talk about how to differentiate yourself. This is the Inside BS Show, the original, except no substitutes, and we're here recording this live from Global Furniture in the Design District in Miami. We are deeply appreciative to our sponsor, Global Furniture. And if you'd like to learn more about them, we're going to put their information down in the show notes. I also encourage you to go just 2 weeks earlier to the episode we recorded with Francisco Ramirez, who is the regional manager here at Global Furniture, who's been kind enough to allow us this wonderful studio space. Listen to the show, and you'll discover how to differentiate yourself in relationship-based sales, specifically selling furniture. That was a great episode. Let me bring in my co-host, the person without whom none of this would be possible. Good morning, Nikki G. How are you today?
Good morning, Dave. I am fantastic.
You got any New Year's resolutions? Anything we need to know about?
Dave, I don't believe in New Year's resolutions. Sorry, audience members. I believe in setting goals because they're much more specific and achievable than those resolutions.
All right, so what's one of your goals for the new year?
One of my goals for the new year is making sure we are building our business.
Okay. Specific, measurable. So
That's
what are we
exactly
like? Come
right.
on. I don't know. I don't really accept that as a valid goal. What are you looking for in terms of growth? What would you like to see in terms of growth in our business?
I would like to see new members and clients every month. So specifically, we're looking to track at least 2 new members every month as we move forward.
All right. That's a good goal. Specific, measurable, achievable, and relevant, time-bound, SMART, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant,
Realistic.
and realistic, and time-bound. All right, that third voice you heard, folks, that is our guest today, and our guest is a fantastic residential real estate agent here in South Florida, but she's so much more than that. She is quite possibly the most fascinating residential real estate agent I've ever met. Gina Robichaux, welcome to the show, Gina. It's great to have you with us today.
Well, it's certainly great to be here. I have to say I'm very honored to be here. Thank you for inviting me, and I feel like I'm back home again. I grew up in furniture showrooms, so I just feel so at home and happy to be here. It's been a long time.
So explain to us how is it that you grew up in furniture showrooms?
Well, a multi-generational family in the furniture biz. My grandparents made it down here in the 30s. They started a furniture business in New York that came to Florida.
Wow.
And it exploded after World War II. That's when South Florida saw a massive population growth. Comparable to what we've just experienced. And what happens when you build houses? Well, you need furniture.
Okay. So you grew up in furniture showrooms. I also want to talk about some of the things you did that make you so fascinating to me. Let's start with rowing. So tell me about rowing, because I found some stuff about you online and rowing, so I want to hear all about that. So you're quite the athlete.
Well, as my coach would say, I was an athlete. But yes, rowing is truly a magnificent sport. You either love it or you hate it. You have to be all in, and I just loved it. It was a spiritual experience for me because it really represented physically that the sum of the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And I was very lucky at the time. University of Miami, where I have 2 degrees. At the time, they were really, really, really going gangbusters for the football team. We were the winningest team of the 80s. Howard Schnellenberger and all the rest. But they wanted the football team to rank up in the NCAA rankings and be the top in that top score tier, rather. And they needed another women's sport. And the president of the University of Miami had gone to Yale and was a rower, and so they hired Joe Okie O'Connor from Cornell, and he was the assistant head coach at Cornell, graduate from the University of Pennsylvania, and he started our rowing program, and I was the walk-on.
Oh, wow. And so did you row in high school?
I did not row in high school. Now, I went to boarding school. I was born and raised in Miami, Florida. There was no rowing down here. I go to Northern Virginia at the age of 14, freezing my little tuchus off, and never seen snow or frozen anything. And I see in the middle of February, I see these people in the water on these little tiny sticks rowing around. I crossed the Key Bridge, and there's people doing that, and I thought, my God, that must be the most amazing sport ever. And that's the impression that stuck in my head. And my best friend's brother was a rower at Johns Hopkins. So he would come visit and tell us all about it. And I had this in my mind that this was an amazing thing. And when it came to UM, I was, I'd been drumming it in my mind for years.
So when was the first time that you started rowing? Was it at UM?
At UM, my junior year of college.
Now, did you train before you tried out to become a walk-on on the team?
No.
So you had never touched a row?
No.
Oh
So
my gosh.
how many? So is this? I don't know the terminology. I know there's 2-person boats, and then there's 7 or 8. Right?
Yeah. So it's except for a single
Okay.
scull, they're even numbers.
Okay.
So you're in a 2, a 4, or an 8.
Okay.
We rowed an 8. We were in the women's varsity 8, novice and varsity 8, and so you have 8 bodies plus a cox. So there's 9 people in a very long, thin boat, and you each have 1 oar. Now there are boats that are super fast where you're sculling with 2 oars in an 8, but those are very, very rare. To get 8 people lined up all sculling together, very, very, very rare.
And how many meets per year?
Okay, now we're really drilling down. It's been a while, Dave, but probably, so in the fall you have head races, which are the 4-mile-long river races. You win based on your time. So you gear up, you start to get faster, and you hopefully are at full speed. When you cross the start, they start the clock, and when you get to the end, 4 miles down the river, they take your time, and whoever wins has the best time. So you're just competing against the clock. In the spring are the sprints, and those are 2,000 meters, and you have to skillfully get in your lane. There's a little bow ball. There's someone at the end of the line who's holding your bow ball, and you're carefully making sure all the 6. Usually there's 6 boats lined up, and you want your point, and the cox will put their hand up to say that they're ready. And so the person who starts the race looking for all hands up, and the conditions are different. The wind could be blowing this way or that way. You draw for your lane. Your coach is telling you what the conditions are, and they do a game. They map out the course.
I want you to talk to us, Gina, a little bit about the training, because I know there is an intense level of training to be a rower.
Yes. So we had the privilege of running the stairs at the Miami Marine Stadium. So we would go, and we would also do sprints up to the top of the Rickenbacker Causeway. That's when I learned never eat a banana for breakfast.
Oh, no. Empty stomach is a little bit better for that.
Yeah.
That is a very steep bridge. I've ridden that bridge, I'm not doing sprints up it, and that's a long sprint.
It's a half a mile.
Uh-huh.
All right. So, Gina, what did you take away from that experience that has helped you in your professional career?
Oh, God. Okay. Where's the Kleenex? Well, the biggest the biggest learning from that was that I'm not who I think I am.
Explain.
Well, because first of all, the physical level of training was beyond anything I'd ever done. And one of the women in the boat with us was in the ROTC. And she said, by far, our training way surpassed what she was doing in ROTC. So we really got some incredible training, and it just blew my mind as to what I thought I could physically do. And so up until that point, I was 19 years old. Up until those first 19 years of my life, I didn't think I could sprint or run fast. And at one point, I beat everyone. I beat all the girls running, and that was something I never believed I could do, and I wasn't trying to do it at the time. I ran as fast and as hard as I could. It felt like I was running into the ground. I was running so fast, but I did it, and so there's a book out there called Mind Over Water, and it's just you realize that it's not your physical that you're working with; it's your mind.
Yeah.
So you come out of this powerful experience. Let's call it that. What do you use that to do next?
Well, in my case, it helped me get through breast cancer.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I mean, there's a couple decades in between.
Right.
But the real grit was a power 10, what I call a power 10. And rowers all know what a power 10 is. Do you guys know what a power 10 is?
No.
So somebody said I should write a book and call it Power 10. But the Power 10 is in the middle of a sprint race. So it's 2,000 meters. You've got it broken down by 250, 500, and 1,000 meters, and you know what you're doing at each point along the race. And your coach has, in our case, our coach was always riding his bike along the length of the course, watching what we were doing. And you don't know what's going to happen with the other players, the other boats. So if a boat is coming up on you, he's riding up and he's passing you. Your cox is counting down the seats, so you know what seat. So you can tell, like, are we pulling ahead or are they pulling ahead? So once again, it's a mind game, but you're already giving 105% of yourself. So your cox is saying, okay, lane 2, boat's coming up, into, up to. So she counts it down. By the way, I was a stroke, so I set the rhythm. So I was the one who had to take the pace up. So into, up to. So 1, 2. Now you're going a little faster. But speed doesn't mean that you're pulling the water. Doesn't mean you're going to, move ahead. So if you don't move ahead, then what you have to do is you have to pull harder, not faster. And that's a power 10. So now, okay, into power 10. 1, 2. So now you're giving 120%. But maybe you're at the 750 mark. Maybe you're not even halfway through the race yet. So you still have to give a power. You have to go.
You have to find it.
You have to find it. So now she's counting down, and you're really pulling hard, really hard. And then she's telling you whether you're pulling away or not. And so if you're pulling really hard and you're not pulling away, it's very disheartening.
Yeah. Yeah. That is, you must have been in amazing shape. That is unbelievable.
Yeah,
it's
I was.
So
you're still an athlete in our eyes. That's an incredible.
So you're going to the University of Miami, and your major is?
So, short story is I really wanted to study music. Folks wouldn't let me. So I struggled.
Folks being your parents.
Parents wouldn't let me.
Okay.
So they'd like, sorry, we're not writing the checks for a music degree. So I had to find myself, and it was very, very hard. I ended up with a Bachelor of General Studies.
Okay.
Because they make fun of people with but it's called a liberal arts degree now.
Right.
And in fact, my husband was like, because I told him what the courses I took, you had to take 12 credits of 300 level or higher in 4 different areas. Mm-hmm. So one of the classes I took, which I love, was history of Florida. My husband was like, what do you do with history of Florida? Like, well, people enjoy knowing facts about Florida. So anyway, Bachelor of General Studies.
So Ponce de Leon and that sort of thing. Yeah, I'm with you.
I
Okay.
think I heard some of this in your conversation earlier today. Why you know so much about different areas of Miami. So that degree is still paying dividends.
Well, it works when you're a realtor also, and people want to know things. And Dr. Paul George was my professor in
wow.
college, and he's a famous Miami. He started his walking tours with our class at UM. Because he took us on tours.
So let me ask you this, Gina. So you're studying at the University of Miami, and you're getting this general's degree. They have an incredible music program. Were you taking music classes there?
I was running across campus, and I was singing in the choir. So that was not part of what I needed to do to graduate. I mean, your choir was 1 credit or 1.5 credits or whatever it was. But yes, I was the only non-music major in the choir, in the University Concert Choir with Dr. Don Oglesby.
And now, did your parents know that you were taking the music classes, or you were?
I think so. Because I don't remember exactly, but it didn't affect my grades.
Did you know then, that you had a talent for, and we're getting somewhere here with these questions. Did you know then that you had a real talent in singing?
Not really. I didn't really take it into. I was overcoming so much because they weren't on board with the rowing either.
Oh, they weren't into the rowing either. Wow. Okay. The rowing, singing, both of those things, your body is your instrument. Your body is it's your entire toolkit for both of those things. How has that helped you throughout your career? Because when you train in rowing, you're using your upper body and your lower body, so you're really in tune with everything,
yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're also in tune with from the neck up, because that's what singing involves.
Singing is really your body. It's
Okay.
really your body. Your throat and your vocal cords are what's shaping the sound, but your instrument is your entire torso and your diaphragm, which I'm learning now because I didn't have voice lessons. I'm learning now with Manny Perez, the studio of Manny Perez, and it's been 6 years with him learning, and I have also found out that there are quite a few athlete singers. That's apparently a thing. I didn't know. In fact, there are some former NFL players who've become opera singers. And
Wow.
singing opera is a very athletic, very physical endeavor.
What is some of the training like?
For singing?
Yes.
Well, there was an amazing Scandinavian singer, Birgitta Nilsson, who when I never saw her perform. She's before my time. But the way her voice was described, soprano, was that it was like you could feel it in your chest. Like when she sang, it came at you like a spear. Like it was like so focused and forceful. Well, she grew up on a farm, and she said that the best training for singing was horseback riding. And Luciano Pavarotti rode horses, and it's, it's all about your core and strengthening of your core. So opera singers aren't known for being, the athletic type, as far as running marathons and such. I'm sure they're out there, but they're working. It's a different understanding of how to work your instrument, where you're working with using your core muscles to tighten very gently, softly, and holding it for long periods of time, like you were riding a horse. Think of the jocks, who ride thoroughbreds. They're not sitting on the horse. they're holding themselves up with their thighs the whole time.
Oh my gosh.
You know, so you're just crouched like that. That's what singing is like, constantly, because you're up there for hours. If you're a big, you know, if you have a big role.
So, and I want to talk a little bit about that. So, Gina, you've been on a number of stages, and you sent me a video recently, which was a pretty big stage to be on. And I want you to tell our audience about that experience.
Well,
Was that
and who you were on
Trinity
stage
Church? Was that, is that what you're talking about? No.
with. She was on stage with someone that our audience will very easily
Oh,
recognize.
okay. All right, let's
So
hear it.
Tell us about that.
Well,
please.
that was such an honor, and it's been an honor for me to sing with the Master Chorale of South Florida. And this is my 3rd year, and I'm so blessed that we in this community have such an incredible organization. In fact, we won. Master Chorale of South Florida was just named by Classical South Florida Review. They publish all the reviews in this area of all the, not all, but as many as feasible, of the most important classical organizations, performing arts organizations, and we won top 10. Master Chorale of South Florida was named number 9 in the top 10 performances this year.
Wow.
And so we've been hired in the past by Andrea Bocelli to be their choir when they're here in South Florida. And so 2 weeks ago, we were on stage with his production company and all of his artists and himself at the, now it's called the Casaya Center, the arena, downtown Miami.
That's amazing.
incredible.
Wow.
Incredible.
It
And how long was the show?
Well, it was like a couple hours. Its show started at 8 o'clock, and it went on past 10. He did 3 or 4 encores, and
Wow.
and we arrive at 2 o'clock. We warm up, and we do rehearsals from 4 until 6. And because there's like, I don't know, 8 or 9 pieces before the intermission, and then after. The show was incredible, and to be there with Nadine Sierra, who's an amazing, she did the opening for the Notre Dame in Paris.
Oh, wow. So I have to ask, because this is the Inside BS show, and we ask kind of the inside take on a lot of things. I know you are not shy, Gina, and I know being on stage does not intimidate you. But when you are with these acts and you know who they are and they're really big names, does that make you nervous?
No.
Why not?
Well, I have a master's. So my 2nd degree at the University of Miami is a master's in music, but it's music business. And Dr. Alfred Reed, an amazing person, may he rest in peace. He was a composer and a conductor and a professor at UM. And he actually started the degree at UM in 1966. It was the first of its kind in the country. So University of Miami School of Music is the birthplace of the music business degree. And he said that everyone, regardless of their fame, everyone has to shower, shit, and shave.
That's true. Definitely true.
And that's how he put it. So I didn't mind putting it like that here, since this is the behind the scenes whatever BS. But you know, he pointedly said that. It wasn't just a passing comment. He said it many times because he knew that any of us would be working with people like him. And in fact, I had in my former career, because I did go to work for Sony Music International for some time in my prior career, over 20 years ago. And I was with people that, you know, like Bocelli. You know, we had Julio Iglesias come through our office.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, Ricky Martin, Shakira, Paul Anka, Mariah Carey, Mariah Carey, as they like to call her.
Both of those things involve a great deal of training, a great deal of preparation, a great deal of attention to detail. Let's fast forward to today. and let's talk about how all of that has helped you be successful in what you're doing now as a realtor.
Well, thank you for asking. I'll just circle back, make one last point about the rowing, which is that despite our coming on the scene and being brand new, we still won states, and we won the equivalent of what we consider to be nationals. So we used to say you can't row through a hurricane, and that's what that's the terminology when if someone passes you, they're rowing through you, and can't row through a hurricane. So we went on to Philadelphia, and we beat out, in 3 days of racing, we beat out 44 other schools, and we
Wow.
won the title. And
Wow.
we took home in rowing, the other thing, because it was, for a long time, it was a men's sport, and the tradition was that if you beat out the other boat, they had to give you their shirt. So the women would often wear a couple different shirts because somebody would have to take their shirt off. And I came home with a lot of shirts that
Aw,
week.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
But so how do I use that in my career today? Well, I guess it's a lot of attention to detail, and I don't let anything get by me. Sometimes it's a lot of heavy lifting because in real estate there's a lot of details, and the details are growing. A lot of juggling of things, because we're handling a person's life in the most vulnerable moment, and so we have to really notice what they're going through. Not just we're not just putting them in a moving truck and taking them on. So we pay attention to everything.
Yeah. How did you get into real estate?
Well, as one architect said, he told me I'm an architect junkie. So I love architecture, and I love interior design, and I fell into real estate. It happened at the time, at a very, very, very vulnerable time for me. So in the year 1999, 2000, the music industry was going through its own revolution with Y2K, and the business model was changing, and all the major record companies were shrinking, and they were joining forces. So there were 6 major companies, became 3. And they were, shedding some of their departments. And I ended up in a startup. I was in a startup company. It was called Español.com. And it was trying to be the Amazon for South America. And so they were putting all their content out in Spanish. And the problem at the time was that there wasn't enough infrastructure. Whatever the problems were, there wasn't enough infrastructure and faith in the culture in South America for people to put their credit card into a computer. And also the shipping processes weren't as mainstream. So you couldn't count on getting something actually delivered to your door. And so they made it through a few funding rounds, and then they didn't make it anymore. And right at the time that I was handed my pink slip, I was under contract to purchase a house in Coconut Grove, my first house. And what do you do when you reinvent? And I went to work for the broker who had helped me buy my first house.
Oh, there you go. All right. Okay.
You just find some solid ground, and I was happy because I enjoy real estate. I love architecture. I love interior design. I love helping people. And so we do a lot to help people through the thresholds of their lives.
Okay.
So, and I want you to expand on that a little bit, because when Dave opened the show, he mentioned there's 19,000, if I have that right, real estate agents across South Florida.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot just in one particular area. And we can
That's a
tell
lot.
that you have such a unique background, which clearly is a differentiator for you. But for you, how do you view, when you see that many professionals in the same space that you're in, how do you differentiate yourself?
Well, it's harder and harder. It's very, very competitive. And I've basically I'm focusing more and more and more on the context that I've developed over the course of my life. And I'm doing more and more. I'm not expanding. I'm contracting in a good way. In other words, I'm focused on the people that I know personally. I'm not doing, although we have to be out there on social media, for now, my attention is focused on all of my personal contacts. But in order to adjust and adapt and to grow, because I've got to grow, we all have to grow, I'm bringing on a partner. She's starting in a few weeks. And in fact, she and I were the stern pair of the women's varsity A.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, okay.
We're
Back
bringing this
in the
full
day,
circle. I
yes,
absolutely love it.
Yes, yes. So if you saw the movie or read the book Boys in the Boat, she and I, we were the stern pair. Just like the main character was in seat 7, Tracy was seat 7. And so she has 2 grown sons, and she's moving out of working in education. She's ready to come back and work in the private sector now, and I'm so excited to have her come, and I'm going to teach her all the business, and together I think we're going to go places. So,
wow, that's really exciting.
So what is a typical day like for you? Describe a typical, if there is a typical day, describe a day in the life of Gina Robichaux.
Well, I start out in the morning. I try to eke out a couple of hours of private time for me. So I meditate in the morning. I write a few pages, and I go to the gym. So ideally, if I could add some vocalizing to that, that would really be perfect. But I still haven't. I can't get to bed early enough to get up early enough to do all those things. But that's my personal time. And then from there, I go to my office, which is just across from my bedroom.
It's a long commute.
Yeah. I wish it weren't, but for now. And I do some writing to my sphere. So I make phone calls, and I follow up with a lot of details that's happening in people's lives. And after that, we're servicing properties. So it's this month, December, we got 2 days left. I'm enjoying quiet time because it was an extraordinarily busy month. So we had 3 transactions, 2 of which did not materialize. And those kept me extremely busy. And then in addition to that, I had 17 rehearsals and 13 performances.
Wow. Holy cow. And I've asked you this before, but I think it would be great for you to share with the folks who are listening. How do you make sure that your voice is always tip-top? Because I know today we're doing 3 interviews today. By the end of the day today, my voice will be shot, and I'm only speaking a third of the time here. You have to sing 2.5 hours in a show, and you just said you did 2.5 hours of rehearsal before the 2 hours. So how do you keep your voice in tip-top shape?
So there's this very special pill. It's called ibuprofen. When the stock value of my voice goes up, we take an ibuprofen at night. I don't like to take that on an ongoing basis, but during performance week and rehearsal week, because the week of a performance we're also rehearsing every night before the performance. So, and for a few hours, 3 hours every night, and then the performance. So the last thing I do at night before I go to bed is I'll take an ibuprofen with a glass of ice-filled water, and I drink the cold water, and then I don't speak anymore. So you have to do vocal rest. When you know you're going to be using your voice a lot, you have to not speak. It's very hard.
Yeah.
You have to only not speak. And then also you can do some diaphragmatic exercises. For singers, there's things to do where you would be exercising your diaphragm, but not using your vocal cords.
Is there anything that you do during the day to keep taking care of that voice as
you have to
you're performing?
Stay very hydrated, lots of liquids, and you speak economically. So you don't speak. You have to consciously not speak.
Wow.
And you mentioned your kind of morning, I call it sacred time, where you have your workout routine and you have your meditation. Do you in any way modify your workouts based upon, like, you having to make sure that you're in a particular type of shape for the vocal work that you do?
Well, not yet. I haven't reached that level of demand yet. But I would welcome it. I mean, I was built to do this sort of thing. Rowing is an all comprehensive body sport. It's so physically demanding. It's so rewarding. You feel so good. Rowing is, I just love it. I can't say enough about it. But the breast cancer experience did a number on me, and I can't complain because thanks to the breast cancer, I discovered my voice. So I was really, really conditioned to let all of that go. I was told, if you want to be successful in life, stop this thing, stop screwing around, and just get focused. And I pretended to be something that I wasn't. I let that go. And so I had advanced stage breast cancer, stage 3C. It was a large lesion. I had to have a mastectomy. I had to have chemotherapy and radiation and multiple surgeries, more than 10, over a course of several years. And I ended up with lymphedema in my right arm. And that means I can't put any weight or pressure on my right arm.
Oh, wow.
And I'm trained for pressure, man. And my husband used to say to me, because we used to go to the gym together, he says, I love working out with you because you work out like a man. And I enjoy that physicality, but I can't do it. So I hired a trainer to keep me from hurting myself. So I have to do the training that I do now is very tamped down, and it feels like a warm-up to me. And I had to condition myself. So he works with me where I can, and I try to do the erg, the ergometer.
Yes.
And I'm always battling this. I'm always battling this buildup of pressure in the arm. I'm supposed to be wearing a compression sleeve, and I go to physical therapy every week for the arm. I've been doing that for 10 years.
Wow.
For my arm. So last year, Tracy and I, at the beginning of the year, about a year ago next week, we went to see Boys in the Boat together. And after that movie, I was like, I'm getting a boat. I'm going out there. I'm like, I want to do this. I just don't know if I really can anymore. I'd love to. Maybe I will.
It's just that drive will always be there as an athlete. And I think that's so smart that you got someone to say, hey, you need to do what your body can handle. I would have the same problem as someone who really appreciates intense workouts. And I think you need someone to step in and say, don't do this because you'll hurt yourself.
Yeah.
But you still have that same drive, and I think you always will. And I'd be surprised if you didn't say that drive helps you in what you do in your professional life.
It probably does. I'm sure it does. I don't feel it in the same way, but I am a perfectionist, and I struggle with that because it holds me back sometimes from completing things. But I really do care about my clients, and often the right ones become very dear friends. And we could save that for another time, because one of my clients literally saved my life this past year. I went through quite an ordeal with legal things. These are clients who are retired now, but he was the former district attorney in Las Vegas.
Oh, wow.
And we uncovered some criminal behavior that I would never have imagined.
In South Florida? Shocking. I'm shocked. Criminal behavior in South Florida.
Well, you're right about that, but I don't, I'm not part of that community.
Of course.
And so I
Neither
don't.
are we, by the way.
To be clear, we would know nothing about it either. Just I read a lot of the news.
Well, his entire career was in working with, and his wife was a public defender, the two of them together. And when I had to finally come to them with a problem, which I normally don't do with my clients. And I said, I have this situation. I wonder if you can help me here. And they started to tell me a few things, and they opened up my mind to that, which then set me on the path that helped me resolve a very serious problem. And it was resolved.
Yeah.
In fact, Jacques Cousteau helped me.
Oh, good.
Great.
That's great. So, 10-year survivor? How long?
Yes, sir. It'll be 11 years on January 6th.
Yay.
Awesome.
That's awesome. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
All right. How do people get a hold of you if they can relate to your story and they want to buy or sell real estate in South Florida? How can people get a hold of you?
Well, do you want me to rattle off my phone number and email address?
I want you to do that so
Okay.
people can contact you. Give us the phone number first, and then you can give us the email address, which we will put in the show notes as well.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate today. Thank you. My phone number is 305 582 8848.
Again.
305 582 8848.
Okay. And what about email?
So email is Gina at, which is GINA, arroba, RobichauxRealEstate.com. So Robichaux is spelled RO, B as in boy, ICHAUX for X-ray.
All right, perfect. We're going to put that in the show notes. The email address and the phone number will go in the show notes. Now, you do residential real estate, correct?
I mainly do residential. I have helped people with some commercial transactions. So I'm working right now with an artist organization. We're relocating offices. They're in a building. They've been in the same building for 40 plus years. And guess what? The property's been sold and it's going to be redeveloped. And so now I'm helping them find a new office space.
Palm Beach, Broward, Miami-Dade?
Correct. So we just had a seasonal rental in Palm Beach, which was lovely, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, fully furnished, direct ocean view, and that rented for $18,000 a month.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Terrific.
I have a long-term rental in Lake Clark Shores, which is near Lake Worth. And that's a beautiful 3-bedroom, 2-bath. We're looking for a long-term rental there. That's $3,800 a month, not furnished.
Okay, so a couple of things that I want people to keep in mind when they're listening. The way to pick a real estate agent, the way to pick someone to help you, the way to pick a realtor, in my opinion, is find someone who, number one, understands you and is ready, willing, and able to take the time to understand you. And what I would do, if I were you, if you were looking for property now, is I would find someone who I connected with, who I had an affinity with, because in my experience, you're going to spend a lot of time with the person who's your realtor. And if that person rubs you the wrong way, regardless of whether they have deep expertise in your type of home or the type of property that you're looking for, I think you want to spend time with somebody who gets you and what you're looking to accomplish and can read between the lines and can manage the dynamic with you and whomever else you're shopping for real estate with. You buy a lot of real estate. If you're looking for a realtor, how would you select a realtor?
What matters most is someone who really cares about your interests. So real estate, especially because the amount of people that are in that profession in South Florida, can be very transactional. And I've seen far too many agents who will just handle it as a transaction and not as the person. So I'd be thinking, who's going to care about my best interest? Because every transaction is different. And setting aside your form contracts you're using, it is still different. And someone who knows to ask the right questions, someone who's going to care about, did we think about this for you? Did we make sure we put it in the contract? Did we talk about it? I've seen so many things overlooked. So it's the person who cares most about our interests is what I'd be looking for. And yes, relationships first. Someone who's going to just care about me as a person.
I agree wholeheartedly. And if you are in a situation where you're sensing that there's chemistry is off, don't go forward. Find someone that you really do feel comfortable with, because that will harm the transaction. It will just be another, it'll be, I can't think of the word, but it won't go well usually. I mean, it's a lot to overcome. Just the most sane, phenomenal people go cuckoo in a real estate transaction. So you really need to feel comfortable with your person.
All right, folks. You heard it here from Gina Robichaux. Her contact information is down in the show notes if you want to reach out to her. This is the Inside BS Show. We're here with a brand new interview at least once a week. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you like what you heard today, be sure and follow us. You can follow us on Spotify, on Apple, on wherever you get your podcasts. And in addition, do us a favor. Share the show with somebody else who you care about. Share the I don't care. Share it with people you don't care about. Share it with people who are in business. Here's the reason why. The show only grows by you sharing it with other people. You won't see us advertised on billboards along the side of the highway. We only grow when you share it with other people. Join us here again next week for another interview. We're here every Wednesday at 6 a.m. on the Inside BS Show. I am Dave Lorenzo, the godfather of growth, and she is
G.
See you back here again next week, folks. Thanks to Gina Robichaux, and thank you for listening. Thanks for listening to this edition of the Inside BS Show. My name is Dave Lorenzo. If you'd like to apply to be a part of our community, please join us by completing your application directly with me on the phone. You can call me at 786-436-1986, 786-436-1986. I can't wait to speak with you. Join us by calling me today.